believe we're live, but I forgot to actually open up Twitch. But I don't think I really need to do that. There we go. Let me unhost this fellow. Alright. We have unhosted Reaper miniatures. What do we got going down here? Castles and Crusades actual play. Tim, I think we need a new title up. He said hold one. He said it too slowly. Alright. This chair's driving me crazy. Oh, yeah. I didn't know what that was. Stuck to the board back there. But we're here for GM's Tricks of the Trade. No matter what you have heard. I think we're doing wounds today. I know we're doing wounds today. I did the panel. I dodged. Oh. Yeah, Tim was fixing the title there when he said hold on. How's it going, Retro Gamer? Yeah, I think Chuck's got a more elaborate panel system than I do. He's got it rotating through 5, but we're just going to do the 1. That's all we're doing today. Having 5 panels is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Nobody needs that. How about Scotty? Oh, how's it going, Jason? Man, you got me on lunch on a Spinal Tap cake. You know, when I eat lunch, I'll sit here and watch a little YouTube or go upstairs and watch a little TV, but I frequently just watch a little YouTube, and you sent that Spinal Tap video. I eat at 11, and you sent that Spinal Tap video right over before lunch. So I spent the 45 minutes watching Spinal Tap. Would you do me a favor? How's it going, King Cothor Lord Dalius? I have not watched I don't know when the last time. It's got to be over 10 years, 10, 15 years since I watched Spinal Tap. And then there was another one they did. I don't know if it's the same guys, but it was not bluegrass music. Was it bluegrass music? They did kind of a spoof on the bluegrass or something. I can't remember what it was. So send you vids before 11. So yeah, there you go, King. That's all I need is more crap to watch on YouTube. What I've been watching mostly lately is these, what is it, Warhammer, Warcraft? No. Is it Warhammer? Yeah, it's Warhammer. The Warhammer, they do these cinematic battles on wherever, and then they load them up on YouTube. And they're pretty cool. Put on music, and you're watching orcs fight dwarves, or elves fight beastmen, or whatever it is. Whatever's going on. Those have given me quite a bit of entertainment lately. Which is nice, though the world's given us all a lot of entertainment lately. So we'll see how this plays out. But yeah, they're very cool. I like watching them. Some of them are frustrating because what is it? The Empire. So I don't play Warhammer. I used to when it was long ago, when it was just little bitty things. But when you kind of looked overview and you saw you build a little village or whatever the hell. But it is Lord Davis is very cool. But does the Empire ever win? I mean, oh my God! Every time the Empire goes to fight, they get annihilated by whoever they're fighting, and the dwarves too. And I have a particular affinity for dwarves, and they get annihilated all the time on this Warhammer stuff. But with their bags of napalm. I don't know what they're throwing. Grenades, fire bombs, or something. It's cool stuff. I like it. Great graphics. And I always root for good. I always root for the good guy. So when the Beastmen or Chaos Lords or whoever win, it rankles me a little bit. Kind of cool. I may get into that game at some point. It's unlikely, but maybe. A Mighty Wind. Best in Show, that was it. It's not bluegrass. What kind of music is it? It's like, I can't remember what kind of music it is. Not avant, I don't know, whatever. They did a dog, there was a dog one, a spoof on the dog one. A Mighty Wind. Now I'm not sure what A Mighty Wind is. No, Best in Show is the dog one. Folk music, yeah, A Mighty Wind, that's the one I'm talking about. Best in Show is the dog one. A Mighty Wind is really... It's really funny. It always reminded me of that Saturday Night Live skit where they spoofed NPR, and they had the two narrators, whatever, journalists, whatever they were, talking about, well, tonight it's Thursday night or whatever. That was a great skit. But it always reminded me of that. That's the fun fact. The folksmen from that movie often open for Spinal Tap in concert. Nice. Spinal Tap is its own animal, though. It's a whole different. I don't know. It's just, and I love that. We were talking about McKeon. Is that his name? I love that actor. He's a great actor. I absolutely loved him in Better Call Saul. If you haven't seen that TV show, definitely watch it. It's the spinoff. It's not really a spinoff, but it's kind of a spinoff of Breaking Bad. Very good, very well written. It's not my normal type of show. I like a little bit more. As you can see in the pictures I put in the panel here, I like a little bit more violence in my television. So Better Call Saul is more of a, I don't know, an intellectual journey down, whatever, but the writing is fantastic and the acting is fantastic, and it's got just the echo of Breaking Bad in it, so you can kind of pick up the ambiance from that show. So if you enjoyed that show, it's something worth watching. Oh, very cool there, Tim. Yeah, he's just a great guy. He was really good. He plays Saul's brother in Better Call Saul. He's really, really good in it. He's just a good actor. And you look at him in Spinal Tap, and then you because he's playing a very straight-laced fellow, and well, he's a straight-laced lawyer, but he's actually got some kind of severe mental, whatever, not disease. It's a condition, I guess. He's what was it? Electricity gives him headaches, so he can't have anywhere. He believes electricity is bad, and he can't be near electricity. But he's this super high-priced lawyer dude, man. That's just a good show. Just if you haven't watched Better Call Saul, check it out. It's a great TV show. Great continuation of the Breaking Bad mythos. And while I'm plugging Breaking Bad, definitely check out. I can't remember the name of the movie that came out with last year. It's on Netflix. That continues the saga of Jesse. El Camino. Yeah, my favorite car. It's El Camino. Definitely check out El Camino. That's more my tune of show, a little bit more violent. I tend to enjoy Vikings. The Punisher, one of my favorite shows, Justified. I like a TV show that's a little bit harder hitting. I usually watch them late at night after my wife and children have all gone to bed, and I kick back and roll in it. I didn't watch Hannibal. One other thing about this is a weird thing about me and TV shows and movies. I don't like shows about murderers. I don't mind combat and all of that crap, and even some tense stuff, and especially serial killers, because they mostly prey on women. And I hate violence against women. It absolutely drives me crazy. I don't want to see it anywhere on the screen unless it's like in Vikings here where Lagatha gives as good as she gets. So, she gets her face split open in this battle that you're seeing in that image, but she certainly delivers enough of it back. Yeah, it's one of those movies. I've always what was the movie Silence of the Lambs? A fantastic movie, but again, your targets in this movie are women. It always just drives me crazy. I would rather it be some dude getting the hell beat out of him or whatever. I have a question about siege engine design. Why don't some classes gain new abilities as they level up while others do? Was this intentional? It strikes me that the classes are thus very unbalanced, and the engine incentivized players to multi-class into a bunch of stuff only to get all the abilities at first level. Yeah, it's definitely by design. Particularly in the Adventurer's Backpack, first off, we never really considered balance as part of the game. That's the idea was you're playing a story, you're playing someone that you want to be, and we didn't want to have to worry about everybody being equal and everybody being able to advance at the same rate and do the same things and all of this business. That never came into design. Well, it did, and we didn't want that in the game. We wanted it story driven, and if we had purposely put mechanics in certain classes to make them balanced, you're going to have to take away from the story element somewhat, because now you're mechanically driving some parts of a character. It's not this archetype, it's this archetype plus things. And when I went into the Adventurer's Backpack, when I wrote most of those classes, and that was certainly my intent there. I really want, like the Primal Druid. Now, I didn't write the Primal Druid, that's Mark Sandy, but I like the Primal Druid as a perfect example. He's this is a specific type of person, a personality, whose abilities fit that violent nature type guy. And we wanted it that way. So that it was very intentional. We didn't worry about balancing. I'm experiencing that in the game I'm running on Tuesday. There is a definite imbalance in what is happening, and as in what players are capable of doing with their characters. It's just going to get worse, especially because one of them is playing a thief, and the thief, much like the rogue, starts with a whole bunch of class abilities, but that's it. They don't gain much after that. Now they might gain a better chance of succeeding at whatever they're trying to do, but they're not going to evolve into something more than they are when they started. Ranger falls into that a little bit too, but the Ranger's abilities have a broader usage, I think. But I'm seeing it. Some of them at the table, they're about third level now, and some of them are able to do a lot more. And the Wizard's in that horrible spot where he just can't do anything. I mean, he gets 2 or 3 rounds, and then he's kind of... That said, some of the stuff they're doing with the spells is through the roof. He did his mage hand thing the other day. He cast a web between 2 trees. He captured a lot of 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐬, little 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐜, little bitty chaotic evil humanoids. He captured like 6 or 7 of them in this web, but they were like 100 feet from the web. So while they were all holding the wedge of these, because I had 46 of these creatures attack these 4 characters, the Wizard cast Mage Hand, or he threw a torch, cast Mage Hand on the torch, and then he cast Mage Hand, pushed the torch to the end of Mage Hand's whatever, and then threw it. Now he missed. He rolled a 1 or a 2 on his to hit. He didn't hit the web, but it was a brilliant idea. That was a great usage of that spell. So we're seeing some really creative and unorthodox usages of the spells, which I really like, but it's definitely imbalanced. I mean, the Wizards imbalanced. The Oathsworn, the one that has the most power without a doubt is Wilson's character. I think he's an Oathsworn. Mac is Pete. Pete's the Divine Knight. Wilson's a Divine Knight. And they got mana, and they're able to actually use any spell without... They don't have to memorize it the way it's written. They don't have to tell you what it is. They just get to pick one of these spells and use it for the effect. They're pretty powerful. I mean, he's able to... He's very versatile. And so it's unbalanced. But I'm okay with that. I really don't mind the unbalancing. I think it falls upon the CK to help balance that, to make games run a little bit more so that perhaps those characters that don't have as much power as the others can do certain things in this circumstance, that type of stuff. But it was definitely built into the whole. It was built into the system. There's a little bit of balance in the XPs, though. I think I goofed that up when I did the CKG. I think I broke Max his progression, his experience points progression. I think I kind of wrecked that a little bit. How's it going, George? Thanks for joining us. Good conversation today on the tokens. That's I'm glad to be seeing that going forward. I'm a slow participant convert. I'm a slow convert to the digital stuff. Not quite as slow as Jason Fay. He's not quite there yet, but it's good to see it actually moving forward. Yeah, CKG. What's next? I got some notes to wrap up on the Monsters and Treasures of Erd, and then I turned my attention to the Castle Keeper's Guide, and that will be probably by noon tomorrow, and get that thing moving forward. It's one of the things I'm going to do at end of the year, whatever, going forward, whatever, email here pretty soon, probably early next week, and it's one of the things I'm going to discuss is project management here has slipped a little bit, and we're gonna rein that slippage in and get this thing fixed. It will never get there. It's all just a catastrophe. I just hate it, but I'll rise above it. I am a professional. He's quoting Spinal Tap again. That's the video he sent me today. We were actually talking about VTT. That was Jason's response. He sent me that video. Oh, that's great stuff. Great stuff. All right, well, we are here for GM's Tricks of the Trade number 74, Wounds. I think we've actually touched on this before long ago, in which I talked about types of wounds that I like to deliver to characters. Now, in an interesting kind of... I'm glad Jason texted me today. We were talking all day today about 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐬, but we got to talking about this Trick of the Trade in general, and I want to just kind of put something out there. So there's quite a different school of thoughts in what wounds are. You know, some believe it's you take 4 points of damage and your arm's cut and you're bleeding, and some believe it's exhaustion, and some believe, like Jason was telling me in the DMG, it's more you get, what is it, your hit point or your constitution bonus plus your level gives you your number of hit points. That's actual physical damage. Everything else is going to be exhaustion and just exertion and all of this other stuff that you're just slowly ground away. You're not hit every time. And he asked me if that's kind of what I was talking about, and that sort of is, and it sort of isn't. I kind of merge both concepts of hit points aren't, I mean, you can't take 78. If you have 110 hit points, you can't take 78 deep cut wounds, right? You can take maybe 3. Maybe a few more. There's a couple of people. I remember reading about a guy in Vietnam who got hand grenaded and RPG'd and shot like 9 times and stabbed like 11 times or some crazy shit like that. But for the most part, people can't take that kind of damage. But what I do when I'm running a game, I'm really like everything that I do at the table, I try to do it for effect. It's really for mood, it's to fire people up, it's to get their attention, it's to keep them engaged, and it's to scare them a little bit, make it a little bit more. Rasputin is another one. Yeah, that dude got poisoned, stabbed, drowned. That dude, they tried to kill that guy a lot. Yeah, they tried to kill him for like an entire day. I think he finally drowned or he froze to death. I can't remember what. But Rasputin was. I'll try to dig him up, George. I can't remember. He's the most wounded veteran from Vietnam, and he lived. I mean. Anyway, this is a mess. I think the guy that lived at, is it Pork Chop Hill? Which one's in Korea? The Korean War. I think it's Pork Chop Hill. I think he had multiple wounds, all over his body. You never know. You never know where that bullet's going to land or sword or whatever. But the point being is that I kind of merge both. I kind of merge both philosophies of its hit point damage and its exhaustion damage, and it's everything going on around you damage. It's nervous, it's all of it. But what I'll do almost in every combat that I do is when a catastrophic amount of damage is done, and this is usually close to my maximum or a natural 20 or any of that stuff, I really want the wound. I want it to carry a little bit of weight at the table, and artistic purposes or theater of the mind purposes or whatever you want to call it, I will assume that the adventurers, that the party, these people are like this Vietnam veteran or Rasputin or whoever luck is with them. I mean, that's why they are who they are, right? They get to survive this because they are who they are. So I can kind of merge all of those concepts when I do it. Now, a couple of quick notes on wounding at the table. When I do this, I try to be pretty descriptive. Lots of blood and bone. I try to use sound and smell and all this other stuff. However, if you're running a game, it's like every time you're running a game, I'm always amazed at people who intentionally offend other people. It just baffles me. Know your audience. A perfect example is my brother Davis has cut his fingers off, 3 of his fingers off. Now they've all been sewed back on at one time or the other. But I don't ever do finger wounds around Davis. If Davis is at the table, fingers and hands they're off the table. I don't do it because he lived through it so much. I don't want him to have any kind of traumatic whatever. So if you're at the table and someone's had some kind of wound that you know about, don't have it go to their characters. It's just too real. And then I never do genital ever. I just don't. I don't do breasts. I don't do wounds to any genitals, breasts, or any of that stuff. The ass or any of that stuff. It's just not cool. It's just not cool. As his brother, it's your duty to give his characters. Yeah, he would not. He doesn't mind. He laughs about it, but he's. I've been in the hospital twice with him when the first finger trailer hitch cut it off. Interestingly, it severed the finger and the bone just below the first digit as he was yanking his hand out, and his finger flew free, and he caught it. That motherfucker caught his own finger, and he was holding it in his hand, which is pretty cool. No matter which way you cut it, that's pretty cool. I don't. Pregnant women, I did actually that game that I ran an online game about 2 months ago, and that's the first, and I had a pregnant woman kidnapped, and that's the closest I've come to actually having pregnant women involved in the melee and all of that stuff. I don't even know why I did it. I certainly should not have done that, on an online forum, but there you go. Yeah, he does blood waddle. Apparently, he's got great dexterity. It's really funny. The other one was a lawnmower, and the other one was, I think, a weed eater. I can't remember what. Something like that. But yeah, King, you remember you were in that game. I don't know why I did that. It's very unusual for me to ever do. Yeah, but even so, I just like to stay away. I don't kill children. I just like to stay away from things that, I guess, that are so obvious that, I don't know. It's just not cool. It's just not cool. Having someone who's, like Tuesday, I rolled a natural 20 against the mage, and I described it thusly. I said, all right, the Zaw pushes your hand back, and he drives the blade to the hilt. Or he drives the blade in you, and it comes out, and he stabs you again, and he stabs you again, and he stabs you again. And on the fourth stab, he drives it to the hilt, and it lodges in your chest, puncturing your kidney. Now you begin to bleed black blood. That's kind of how I described it to the guy. So Dakota was so fired up so scared, and it was all so real that he, but he hasn't suffered a kidney knife wound. So I'm not too worried about it though. There are enough horrors in the game. We don't need to bring ones from. Yeah, exactly, King. You just really don't need to do that. And that's where the room idea came in. You know your players. If you don't know them not yet, then be conscious of what you... Yeah, absolutely. Okay, DM Samuel's 150% right there. He says, know your players, and if you don't know them yet, then be conscientious of what you present at the table. Don't roll out. Like me, I'll try not to roll out these horrible wounds and all kinds of stuff until I know who I'm playing with. And you can pretty quickly figure out who you're playing with, for the most part. And most people just want to get in there and have fun, and they don't care about the descriptive. They love the descriptive text, so I would go with it. 100%, you must know who you're gaming with. Yeah, absolutely. Just read the table. I sent a political text out to a couple of about 4 or 5 of my friends the other day, and I should have read the room. We all are great friends, but some of us see politics a little differently. So I should have just read the room and not sent it. There you go. It's even like Jason today. I made a comment to him about VTT, and he started cussing VTT, and I was like, I said to Jason, now read the room. Know your audience. And Tim, accept social media. If you pay attention, you can figure out pretty. Just tell everyone on social media. Jason, I just think you need to stay off social media completely. I did the rotten grubs to a friend who's dared me to, and we all got a big laugh out of that when I called him on it. Nice. Rotten grubs are awesome, too. That is an awesome monster that's just not used enough. TLG is Tim Burns. Yes, TLG is Tim Burns today. Chuck is... I don't know where Chuck is. I had a meeting with Chuck. We're working on tokens with George here. Lots of stuff going on. So Chuck's doing his own thing. He asked me if I could do the panel. That's why we're getting one panel today. Throat leeches are disgusting. Yeah, that would be pretty disgusting. Like that guy who depicted sexual assault in his online Twitch game as a spur-of-the-moment thing. Killed the game in his tracks and wound up disintegrating. Yeah, that's just crazy. I don't do sexual assault either. I just don't. It doesn't matter. It's just not... There's nothing funny about it, and there's nothing fun about it. There's nothing... And there's not that there's funny things about wounds or whatever, but you can be graphic. It's just like watching a movie. I mean, you watch, like, Vikings here, and everyone comes out of it chopped up, bleeding, and stabbed, and tired, and exhausted, but they're all still put together. So there's nothing that echoes beyond, this is just horrible, this is just a tough life type thing. But there you go. I once had a guy verbally raped my wife with a girlfriend in a con game while telling the rest of us all our characters to do is watch press. Yeah, that's just nuts. I've read about that occasionally. Some guy did that at a convention in England or something a few years back, and it's just, what are you doing, man? No one wants to play a game like that. No one wants to play a game like that. So just don't. So when talking about these wounds and all of that stuff, just know your audience, know what's going on, know who you're playing with, tone it down until you got a good, comfortable feel. My Tuesday game is 4 teenagers, 4 teenage boys, and they love it. They eat all of this stuff up. And none of that bothers them. The reality of life hasn't settled in yet, so we'll see. There's sex weirdos everywhere. But, just know your audience. That's the key. And don't ever do sexual stuff. Jason's right. That's just fucking crazy. Whatever. That's just irritating me. Just thinking about it is irritating me. All right, so one of the first ones I do, and this was kind of cool. Now, and again, I would reserve these wounds that I'm talking about, or similar things that you might come up with higher level characters. It's tough to do these on a lower level. Some of them you can, but lower level characters just don't have the hit points to withstand what's coming, right? You can't bleed them out. You can't chop off a limb. Not that you want to do that, but or break bones or whatever. Cause catastrophic damage because they don't have the hit points to sustain the catastrophic damage. And if you describe something that's kind of catastrophic, if you describe someone, getting stabbed 5 times and then the blade gets stuck in the hilt and it does 2 points of damage, it's going to completely wash away all of your descriptive text and some hilarity. So really mid-level. I think mid-level to high level, definitely high level, but around the 7th level is when you want to start using this type, 5th level, something like that, when you want to start using this type of wound, this very descriptive wound, and just, to bring that kind of stuff out. Hey, Clever, how's it going? Yeah, hadn't seen you in a while. My holiday was good. How was yours? I worked most of it, but I think I took Christmas Day off, but I like to work, so that's good for me. I hope you had a good holiday, too. It seemed, and the thing about from Thanksgiving to New Year's, my God, it seems to go on for a long time. It's just 5 weeks or 6, depending on where Thanksgiving lands, of just kind of semi-celebratory stuff. It's too much for me. It's much too much for me. I see King Kothar, another question. In Monsters and Treasures, why so many obscure and esoteric critters? I assumed you made most of them up, but then I'd Google search them and find evidence of the creatures in folklore, mythology, etc. So, most of those obscure monsters that you see in Monsters and Treasures came from Brian Young's Mythos series that, of course, we've published for Castles and Crusades. And most of those come from Codex Celtarum. Brian's got a PhD in Celtic Studies. He speaks Celt. He speaks Celt, right? Is that the language? Yeah. And so he knows all of the mythologies and all of the mess that goes with it. And he brought all of that stuff into the Codex Celtarum, and in turn, Peter Bradley and I brought it all into the Monsters and Treasure book. We probably could have pared it down, and I know I did. I cut a few out because there's some replication in there from other monsters that are so very, very similar to ones that were already in the thing that I probably should have cut those out. And I may on the 6th printing give it a closer look, but that's why there's so many strange and offbeat monsters in there. That's Brian Young for you. Gaelic, Celt, I think it's Gaelic? It's Gaelic. It's got to be Gaelic. Yeah, it's Gaelic. It's not Celtic. Because the Celts are almost, I think the Celts, linguistically there's no Celtish. I think Gaelic is Celtic. And the Celts are found what? In Wales, Ireland, and Brittany, France. I think that's the only place they're you getting older. Yep. Every day I get a little older. Off subject, but when will we? So the Asian, he's done Chinese and Korean. He's already turned over. They are not on my docket yet because I want to get a few of these other projects done before we kind of jump into the next round. But my guess is later in the year, late fourth quarter, we're going to launch those 2 books simultaneously or one right after the other. Because like I said, they're done. I want to say that Peter Bradley has finished the cover for the Chinese Codex, and again, I said this a couple weeks ago, but I don't know the Latin. I don't know the final title for these because that'll be a Latinized title for, Codex Chinese. I don't know what the Romans called China. I have no idea. So, but Brian does. So it's probably in my inbox somewhere. Yes. Your conversation is galling me. There you go. But so sometime this year. I'm really excited about this year. We got all kinds of stuff going on. All kinds of stuff. So the first wound I like to do, and again, this works better on high-level characters, it's a slow bleed. I do this all the time. They'll take a wound, maybe it's 6 points of damage. Maybe it's 4, it doesn't matter. Just not too much damage. But if I want, if their ACs are so very, very high that I'm having trouble hitting them, and it's becoming less challenging for the characters, and I can tell that they're getting a little bit bored. I'll use this all the time. When they take a wound, it cuts some part of them that is bleeding. You know, head wounds, if you get hit in the head, they just tend to bleed a lot. So you give them a head wound, and then they bleed, and then they'll start seeping out a point of damage around. You got to be careful, because that point around in a 10-round combat can be life or death, and you don't really want to kill them with this. You definitely want to heighten the tension. So give them a bleeding wound. They're just bleeding a little bit. You know, get cut in the gut, that bleeds. There are certain parts of you that just don't stop bleeding easily. And give them a blood wound. And that's the slow bleed is what I call it. It's one of my favorite things to do. And every round I'll just say, Todd, you take another point of damage. Next round, Todd, point of damage. And he'll say, wow, what's happening? I said, well, you're bleeding. Your wound is it's seeping blood into your eyes and beard or whatever. Orientalis? Yeah, maybe, Willie. I have no idea. I don't have any idea. Probably not, because, I mean, he's doing specific China and specific Korea, and we may run into a problem because the Romans may not have known that there was a Korea, but there's got to be a Korean, the Roman Catholic Church. There's Roman Catholic Koreans. I'm sure Brian has settled it, but I don't know what it is. Foot wounds can be game-changing as well, especially when stepping on Legos or D4s. Yeah, no kidding. So, that's another thing that you can... I didn't even mention that, but when you do things like that, if you hobble the character a little bit, slow their movement, give them a dex, minus or what have you from any kind of wound like that, and it changes the dynamic of the battle, and it shows that the damage they are taking is a little bit real and has a real effect on what's going on and just heightens that tension. The slow bleed, of course, really its purpose is to... Because, a player's watching their hit points. That's part of their job. So they're watching them, and they're watching them go away even when nothing's happening. So it just adds a nice level of tension to it. Try the slow bleed. Make sure they got a few levels so that they can take it. And another thing, just I probably don't need to say this, but blood does coagulate. So you can slow bleed them for like 4 or 5 rounds and then stop it. It doesn't have to be this permanent thing. Unless you've got whatever disease that is, your blood's going to coagulate and it's going to stop for the most part, as long as an artery isn't severed or something. But the slow bleed has a wide variety of potential to keep the tension going, spook characters, and gives you control of what's going on. Steve, I was so impressed with the dictionary throws that I bought another copy of both. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed them. Those are fantastic books, and I know Jim is he's wanting to do a thesaurus of mythological terms, which just is really fascinating to me. And he's to that end, he's been looking for a co-author for that. So hopefully that'll happen sometime soon. Hit point equals narrative positioning for me. CNA, MB, meat, luck, armor. Position. Yeah, I thought that's what it said, but I didn't quite leap into you. Hemophilia, profuse bleeding, no clotting. Yes, there you go. The hit points. The thing about hit points, it's really the major thing that a player is going to be focusing on at any point of combat. So when they start losing them, their level of concern will go up, and you can watch them. If they start at 90 hit points, they're 15th level or 12th level, whatever. As they go up, as they begin to go down, as they begin to grind down, and the battle continues to go on, it gets more nerve-wracking. And this, a perfect example is what I did Tuesday. I had 46 of these little one-hit dice monsters attack this third-level party, and there's only 4 characters. Now I had them do it in waves. Of course, it wasn't one thing. And the Divine Knight, Soundburst, the Wizard cast Web. So they, out of the gate, they knocked a good 15 of them out. But as it was clear that these creatures couldn't hit well, because they all have decent armor class, except the Wizard. But after like 10 rounds, there were still 15, 20 of these Zah left, and the characters were at half hit points, and you could see the level of concern change from, oh, these guys are really weak, we're killing one around, to, oh, wait a minute. It was kind of, nothing's said, nothing's voiced, it's just this fear. And then you can see the hit point counting thing. So in that, actually, you're right. In that regard, hit points become this major part of the whole narrative, even though it's not what you're doing. So it's very, very cool. Yeah, that's the, you can barely see him, but that's the Divine Knight right there.
The gnome.
Yes, the gnome Divine Knight. I forgot you're a gnome.
The glorious gnome.
Yes. I said, man, this was a good 30 years ago, but I seem to recall we had a table we could roll on where the DM could choose based on what happened to drop you below 0. That's interesting. I let them do, I think, I follow the CKG guidelines. If they go -2, they can do a little, they can talk and shout, crawl on the combatter, or bleed on an enemy, or grab someone's boot, or something like that. Claw lot sector from ice, I think that's it. 2 years, tables like that. Maybe it was 2nd edition. Yeah, 2nd edition, there you go. It has been solved. Yeah, it's good stuff. Anything that you can do that. So the next one I do is broken limbs. Now, I don't like to do this one often because you can incapacitate a character, and they're going to have to rest, 6 to 8 weeks or whatever, unless they have restoration or some spell like that. But if I have like a giant or something large, and it hits with a major critical blow, a natural 20, or even if it's just a lot of damage, I will frequently have them roll a saving throw, a constitution check to see if a bone breaks. Now, I'll actually make the CL very, very low, and if they're a decent level, they have a very good chance of passing it. But they know, in their heads, they know, oh crap, I might get a bone broken, and if they get a bone broken, they might not be able to cast spells, use their shield, walk, stand, or whatever it is. So it just brings in this level of fear and awareness of what could really happen on a battlefield with weapons like we're talking about. That helps just heighten the whole tension thing, and that's what all of these wounds are designed. They're not designed, and this, Jason and I talked about this today. They're really not designed to kind of hinge on a mechanic anywhere or to be tied to anything. It's really just literary exposition that you're using to just heighten the tension at the table, just to make people a little bit more scared, and to see themselves a little bit different. It's one of the things I love about this show, Vikings, Walking Dead, The Punisher. Oh my God, The Punisher was great on this. Is you when the fracas is over, Harrison Ford's probably the best, and Mel Gibson for having this happen to their characters on screen. They're constantly getting beat, and after a while you feel it as a character. There's one of the characters not in this thing, but Ivar gets. I watched an episode last night where he's got this face wound that goes across his cheek down a thing, and you can feel it. I mean, it's all blackish red, like open wounds will do, and you can feel it, and that's kind of what you want to do. You just want them to feel like they're really there, because it scares them a little bit, and that's what you're always trying to do is in a combat is keep the tension up so that everybody's hyper focused and they walk away. And they've been talking about this battle for days now. Yeah, exactly. That's it, Jason. Every Harrison Ford movie, well, not everyone, but many of Harrison Ford's movies, he gets the tarnation beat out of him, and Mel Gibson's right up there with him. If you haven't watched Get the Green, go watch that movie. It's great. Gets the crap beat out of him. Mad Max gets the crap beat out of him. I mean, it's constantly, which I enjoy. I mean, it adds a level of tension to my movie watching. Rick Grimes on The Walking Dead. Good God, the guy's always getting hit, punched, chopped, stabbed, whatever it is. It's just good stuff. So up next, the third one, the broken rib. This goes right in hands with number 2, broken bones. I use this constantly. Ribs, and I talk about it in the gym, Tricks of the Trade. That I don't know. I'm married to a doctor, and I don't know anything about medicine, other than my wife thinks I'm an idiot. But in the movies, they break ribs and they just wrap bandages around and they go on about their day with maybe breathing a little bit. So I use that to effect in the game. They break ribs, it might knock off a constitution point, until they get whatever. So they'll suffer a -1 from a con check or save or what have you. But I will break 1, 2, 3, or 4 ribs if they get hit in the chest, because it's one of those wounds that it's not it can be life-threatening, but it doesn't have to be life-threatening, and it's just something that you can roll with, and it's something that's happened to them. It doesn't change the mechanics. It doesn't change the dynamics. They can still do everything that they're doing. But they're wheezing when they breathe. They can't run as fast. They can't run as long. Whatever it is, they can't even stay in the combat as long because of it's tough to breathe with a broken rib. It's the reason the ribs are where they are. But, so The rib thing I use a lot frequently. I don't even like fractures and stuff. I don't like to do because fractures always kind of implies it's broken anyways. You can definitely break toes or fingers because that has no real. My daughter broke her toe the other day, and my comment was, "Well, put your shoe on because you can't. There's nothing you can do for a broken toe. It just hurts." So yeah, it makes walking a pain in the ass, and that's kind of what we're talking about here. Is just creating an environment where things are a little bit more real than just rolling a dice. You take 2 points. Rolling a dice, you take 3 points. Whatever. You want to flesh out. You want to flesh out the battle with wounds, with all kinds of descriptive text, and this is mostly what this is. I'm just thinking of a broken rib, very ouchy. Yeah, I've never broken a rib. I've never broken a bone. Thank God. A broken rib can puncture a lung, causing it to either deflate or fill with blood and cause them to drown. Yeah, it can definitely be dangerous. I mean, and it can, and even if you want to take it that far, you could. You could ramp it up a little bit if you wanted to have the broken bone be a little bit more catastrophic. The broken rib. I tend to not do that with a broken rib because it's my one next to the toes. It's my one's kind of safe bone that you can break without incapacitating. And part of this wound thing is I don't want to incapacitate them. I don't want them. And this is why I'm hesitant to use number 2, the broken limb, because I don't want them to not be able to play the game or to keep fighting. No one wants to do that. Though, if you break a shield arm, the mace hits the shield and that cracks, fractures your shoulder, or whatever. That can be interesting because they're still swinging their sword or whatever they have. And so, yeah, the idea here is it's kind of a fire for effect. You want people to be engaged. You want them to see what's going on, to just be enmeshed in this maelstrom of carnage and blood and metal and iron, so that they stay focused and they get a little tension and they get a little nervous. And when they walk away from the combat, they feel like they've really accomplished something. Because if you just do the mechanics thing, it's not going to get you where you want to be. It can, but for the most part, it doesn't heighten that level of tension. Okay, let's see. So number 1. Okay, so this is I don't know. I can't. Part of me wants to. See, shoulder could be okay, especially if it's the offhand, like they can still use their hands, but range. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, you knock the shoulder, break it. They can still do that. Wizard can still cast spells. They can still do this, that, and the other. Tim is just recovering from a severe shoulder wound, so watching him kind of, do all kinds of stuff. Todd too. Wasn't Todd incapacitated last year? For like 6 weeks, he could sort of do things. But it's just one of those things that you add to it. Anything that you can add to it that helps heighten that whole sense of I was there. So I got Jason, you too. I forgot. It's a troll thing. What is it? Ask not for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. I need to watch my shoulders. We need to let Chuck know too. But I forgot you were going through that too. So the knight part of me wants to hate this next one and hate the weapon, but I absolutely love the bow. And the bow and arrow is an absolutely wonderful weapon. I don't think players use it nearly as much as they should. And I don't think even CKs use it, or GMs or whoever you are, use it nearly as much as they should. The bow is just a beautiful weapon. Watching those Warhammer movies that I was talking about earlier, they're constantly shooting arrows. It's just fantastic. It's good stuff. And I use the bow and arrow. I try to use it effectively. Steve, while I have you here, speaking of wounds, how long do you want this new subsystem I'm working on to be? 1,000 words, 20,000? So we do about 700 words a page. 750 words, I think is word. 750 to 1,000, depending on whatever. So let's say 800 words. Probably not more than 3 or 4 pages, because Jason's writing a new chunk for the CKG. Something that's really going to be really cool. It's what we're talking about today. Yeah, we don't, but we got limited space, so let's keep it about 4 to 5,000 words. I want to get one good picture in there at least. So that's at least 4 to 5 pages, something like in there. Because I decided to add even more art to that stupid book. I was running these guys through a sea adventure, and I couldn't find a boat. I couldn't find what parts of a boat. I couldn't remember aft and prow and all of that crap. So now I'm going to have a boat put in there with designed properly, because I want all that information in. I'm going to turn the CKG into a text and art book. Is what I'm going to do. That arrowhead isn't coming back out with that shaft either. No, it's not. And that's actually first thing I like to do with arrows hit the shield. I love hitting their shield because once it hits the shield, 3 or 4 arrows are embedded in your shield. I'm gonna give them a negative on their dexterity because it's gonna start dragging the shield down. It's just heavy until they take a round and break the arrows off and clean the shield off. It's gonna start causing problems. And if they get stuck, hit with an arrow in the side, and they're trying to fight, perfect movie on that was, Kingdom of Heaven, when Liam Neeson's character gets shot right in the side, and he swings and he breaks the arrow off, and it causes all kinds of problems. Now, I love the arrow as a weapon. I love the arrow as as the effects that it can have after the combat round is over. Especially there's multiple ones. The Death of Boromir, of course, in the movies is fantastic. The Last Samurai is fantastic. Oh man, that is a great movie. That one is it's just a cool weapon. Everyone grasps it. It's very simple to grasp. You start babbling about 𝐓𝐫𝐚𝐝𝐞, and half of your table is going to be, I don't know what 𝐓𝐫𝐚𝐝 is. But everybody knows what an arrow is. Everybody gets the idea behind an arrow. And when it's stuck there, 3 or 4 of them I thought the cartoon Boromir did it better than the movie Boromir. I love how they're kind of grouped all together in this nice tight spot. And Boromir in the cartoon, he pulls 3 out at the same time. It's just a fantastic effect. And it's a weapon that doesn't do a lot of damage, but can have a lot of literary, expansion on your table, because there's so many things that you can do with the arrow, from being, impeding their sword swing, like I said, stuck in the shield, having them pulling out, breaking it off, leaving the head stuck in the wound. I mean, the arrow is a seemingly limitless supply of descriptive text, and because it's one of those things that you shoot from a distance, you can even build the tension over time. I mean, there's just so many things that you can use the arrow for. I strongly recommend that players really, especially at my table, bring the bow back, get the bow and start shooting those stupid arrows before the monster gets to you. You can do a lot of damage. And as you all know, when you're a player, how often do you have that stupid monster down to 1 and 2 hit points and you just can't grind it away? A couple of extra arrow shots in the beginning is just good. I see the live action Mulan with some horrific battle sequences with archery. I haven't seen it yet. I've been shot and hit by a crossbow. Luckily it was one of those hand crossbows with low strength, but still the bolt stuck and wasn't too deep. Still, yeah, I bet you that hurt like a son of a biscuit. Yeah, not everybody though, Bloodwild. Not everybody gets to say, I was shot with a crossbow. That's bragging rights right there. The live action Mulan is horrific. I loved it start to finish. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I don't know. King of Hearts not of yours. Trouble is that most of the time the combat doesn't start until you reach melee range. Yeah, that's the thing. And you got one, and of course in Castles and Crusades limits the archer a little bit because the bow, because you get one shot unless you're an archer. But regardless of all of that, whatever system you're using, whatever it is, the arrow just brings so much to the table. I absolutely love the arrow. Use it for your wounds. Use it to drag down characters, to inhibit, and do it vice versa too. I mean, they hit the monster, and it hits them in the thigh, and they're limping. Whatever. The monster starts slowing down. You slow its movement rate by 10%, so you got an extra round to prepare yourself for the combat. Whatever. The arrow is just a really cool weapon. Use it. Absolutely love it. Let's see. Okay, so this last one is just. I'm almost like 90% certain I've talked about this in a GM's Tricks of the Trade before. I was certain when I wrote it, but maybe not. I don't know why I do this one. I don't know why in my head the globe of the eye, the globe, that word globe, has such a huge response. I get such good imagery from it. So I'm constantly, and I'll tell you this show Viking, they're constantly wounding people's eyes. I think in every fucking third episode, Ivar's one eye is all bloody. It's just blood in the eye. And in this scene here, this is the lower left or right, whatever, that's 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐬, and he took an eye wound there. And his eye's all covered over or patched or whatever. And it's odd for me because I've had glass scraped out of my eye twice, and there's nothing cool about it. There's absolutely nothing cool about eye stuff. It drives me crazy. I don't like people to touch my eyes. I don't wear contacts. I don't do any of that mess. And my wife's always jamming things in her eyes. I don't know what she does. But at any rate, I will frequently, and if there's a natural 20 or some kind of huge blow or they hit the helm or what have you, I will have the damage done. I'll describe it. The globe of the eye explodes. And I'm not really talking popped into mush, but it's just, it's ruptured so that it fills with blood and you can't see, and suddenly you're out. Your dexterity drops by 4 points, and your armor class is affected. Everything is affected because you've got all this blood in your eye. It's one of my favorite ones, and I do it frequently if there's heavy combat, if there's maces and hammers and whatnot, walloping people in the side of the head. I love the, what is it, 300 who doesn't, he just, his helmet gets cut, right? I think it's his helmet, yeah, and it scars his eye. I love the idea of scars after these combat, and that's another thing about all of these wounds. I try to leave the players with, and now again, you don't want a disfiguring scar. That's, no one wants to play that. So just, a welt here that stays, or, your arm's got a couple of hatch marks on it from the blades that you've, suffered on your flesh. Things like that. Giving them scars after these combats is always a good thing. Light scars. Nothing disfiguring. Yeah, Blood Wild. So you got some bragging rights right there. Yeah, when they show an eye drop commercial on TV, my eyes always water up. Yep, Grape, I'm right with you, man. I can't stand it. I don't want people talking about eyeballs, that's why it's so odd for that description to come across. I'm just not a big. They do those. What is it? Saw? Is that the movie where my niece, who I love dearly, when she was like 13 or 14, she made me sit down and watch Saw 3 or 2. I don't know, one of them. And one of the scenes was the guy's chained to the wall, right? You got to get off of the wall or something, and They pull his eye out and put the key to the manacles behind his eye, put his eye back in. The whole thing there was, all right, just stop. I don't need any of that. The rest of it I'm fine with, but that's enough. And then they do that. They always do the scene with the knife that almost hits the eye, or that crap drives me crazy too. Even that remake has a jaw-clenching eye injury. That's the TV show? Yeah, I'm not going to watch it. I actually watched like the first. I didn't go back to it. I forgot all about that. Shit. I love that. I watched like 4 episodes of it. I'll go check that out. But I'm going to skip the eye scene. Just skipping right over it. Yes, and I will. I've been known to clean my ears with a toothpick. Not a good idea. Do not do that. Wait, what's the George Bush? Don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah, do not. I mean, the movie. Oh, no, I didn't see the movie. I didn't see any of it. There's a scene in Zombie where a woman gets her eye slowly impaled on a massive wooden splinter by a zombie trying to pull her through the shattered doors. And let's show the whole thing. Yeah, I don't need any of that. Ash versus the Evil Dead. That's what is just Bugs Bunny gore. Yeah, I watched like 3 or 4 episodes of it. I didn't know they redid the Evil Dead. That's interesting. That's the same thing, right? Yeah, Ash, yeah. I saw him in an X-Files the other day. There's a scene in Zombie where, oh yeah, I just read that, yeah. Yeah, I don't need any of that. They do that occasionally where the eye, that's what I'm thinking of, where some kind of thing comes real close to the eye and then goes away. Some kind of, I can't remember, needle, I don't know. Maybe it's Wonder Woman? Might be Wonder Woman, I can't remember. Bruce Campbell, I love Bruce Campbell. Yeah, he was in an episode of X-Files. I also saw last night before last, 2 nights ago. Do you all remember the old show from the 70s, I think? Night Stalker? Can't remember the actor's name. Davis watched Night Stalker. Now, Davis is 2 years older than me. And I would say, I did a whole kinds of stuff. Davis do stuff, I do stuff. Because he did it. He's older than my brother. But, holy mother of God. Night Stalker scared the bejesus out of me. I mean, that to this day when I see a mannequin, because I was like 8 or 9. To this day, if I see a mannequin, I go, I wait for it to come alive. Because there was a show where the Night Stalker, I think he's a reporter. Is that right? I think he's a reporter, and he's just going to investigate weird and strange stuff, which is very cool. I think the name is the Night Stalker. Well, that actor was actually in an episode of the X-Files that I was watching the other day. It's very cool. Yeah, Almsed knows. You know the truth of it. It's funny you should say that, because I was watching the episode with my daughter, she's become a huge fan of X-Files. She absolutely loves that show. It's really one of, having gone back and watched it again, without, binging it essentially. The show's much better than it was, than I remember it. I mean, those two, And the two actors are fantastic. Their chemistry is through the roof. And I love strong characters. I don't like characters that whine and belly. I just can't get into it much. And both Mulder's kind of a jackass, and Scully is, man, she's the toughest character on TV. She's Raylan Givens tough from Justified. I mean, she doesn't blink. She questions him all the time because she thinks he's an idiot. But she really doesn't. But her character is written so that she's really ferocious, and this show's just, man, people need to watch it. It's a good show. Yeah, clever. It is. It's a really good show. But I'm going to go back. I got to talk about Night Stalker with my daughter. I'm going to go back and try to dredge that up, see if I can't buy that show on Apple or whatever, Amazon Prime, I don't know, and watch it and see what kind of, flashbacks I have from my 1970s youth. I've been on a youth kick anyway, so maybe it'll help. Anyways, that's all of our tricks of the trade today. Wounds, use them. Watch these TV shows that we've been talking about. The Vikings, Walking Dead, if for nothing else, just kind of context on how to bring good descriptive text to your game. And wounding your players is wonderful. Just don't go overboard. Don't do anything that's going to offend. There's no reason to make people upset. That has no purpose. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Lord Daly. I absolutely love talking about combat. I really do think that role-playing is fantastic. We do an awful lot of it at the table, but I think combat is a central part of the game, and it's not... I think the mechanics take away from a huge part of it. So bringing in a little bit of more literary splash is always a good thing. Read the room. Yes, absolutely. Always. Oh, my God, no matter what you're doing, no matter what game you're playing, no matter who you're talking to, if you're texting, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, if you're on whatever... Just read the room. Just read the room. I think that if everyone would take a step back and read the room, there would be a lot better. It'd just be a better world. Yeah, it is clever. You cannot. So Clever says to ignore combat is to ignore a pillar of its foundation. Yeah, you can't. I think to go into full role playing mode is cool, but it's not. That's a different type of game. That's live action theater or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what the hell it's called, but. And RPGs are, at the end of the day, what is Davis called? Loot and kill. They're games about looting and killing. They're about achieving stuff through adventure, and that's the whole purpose. Without actually having to go out and get gored to death by a rhinoceros, or whatever it is. And so just for you NPC Almanac fans, Davis, and I'm going to mess. He has been dumping files on me all day. I've seen assassins, barbarians, all kinds of stuff just being dumped on me. So that's a very good. Only if I can wear my armor. Yeah, there you go, Lord Davis. The room was based on a book. For some reason, I could see you with a water bottle spraying. That would be awesome. Yeah, I think a couple of my players might. I might have some wounds walking away from that table. All right, well, that's it for GM's Tricks of the Trade. We will be back. We'll be back next Tuesday at 4 o'clock, and then again next Thursday at 4 o'clock. All of this stuff. We'll get back into the swing of things. DM Samuel's game, I believe we're doing that on Saturdays. No, Wednesdays. I'm not sure. I checked the schedule, whatever it is. And DM, I got files coming for you tomorrow. Everything's good. So you all have a very great rest of your week and a fantastic weekend. And we will see you guys next week. Thanks a lot, King Kothar. Wednesday. So DM's game is on Wednesdays. Definitely check that out. And we are working to get more over here on our Twitch. All right. Thanks all. Y'all have a great evening.